Hi everyone and welcome to TeachTechPlay. I'm Eleni Kyritsis and I'm the host for tonight's special edition of Chromebook Apps. I'm really excited tonight to pair up, or team up I should say, with Blake from McKinnon Secondary College and bring to you a whole range of fantastic apps that you can use and implement on your Chromebooks. So Blake, do you want to say hello to everyone?
Yes, thanks Eleni. Hello and welcome. I'm really excited to be here on this special TeachTechPlay tonight. So, Google have been great in supporting this webinar as well. So I know it's going out all across the world to, I think there's something like 35 countries signed up or something crazy. I looked at that this morning. But yeah, today's all about apps for Chromebooks. So a bit of history on me. Our school at McKinnon was the first school to get sort of Chromebooks in Australia on a large scale, and the apps that the teachers use sort of day to day have really defined their experience, and it's been very different from a PC or a Mac experience. So what we thought we'd do is put together a few third-party developers, more than just kind of your Google Docs and the basic stuff, but more of the advanced stuff, things you can do on top of Google Docs or on top of YouTube or those kind of tools. So we're really excited to see what we've got in store today with some app developers along. So apart from that, I hope it's going to be a good show, and we'll sort of chime in from time to time and ask some questions. And just before we do get started, there is something that I want to actually announce today, which is today is actually the day I've launched a new website called EdLaunch, so edlaunch.co to get to it. And basically this is a place to put exactly things like this, apps that you could be using in the classroom, and each week they're going to be updated with new apps, and you'll be able to see kind of a whole range of things we're putting in there, not just apps for Chromebooks, but apps for Mac and Windows, and just interesting stuff that's going on in education. So if there's new startups, they can apply to be listed in here, and of course if you've got apps as well, if you're an app developer, you can do the same. But I'll just quickly show you where that is. So it's edlaunch.co. Definitely go check it out. You can sign up for the newsletter. This is what it looks like. So we've got a series of apps in here. If you'd like to get the newsletter, just click on the left here, subscribe for email updates, and that'll take you through to the subscription page. So that launched today. That's been in the works for a couple of months, so I'm really excited to have that out the door. And thanks to everyone who signed up on the first day. I've had an overwhelming response today. It's been crazy, so thanks again.
That's fantastic, Blake. I know that you have been working really hard on that, and I forgot to mention, if you are watching tonight and wanted to get any of the links that our presenters will be sharing, please make sure you follow us on Twitter. It's at TeachTechPlay. That's on Twitter to get links and updates on each presentation tonight. I forgot to actually say about myself and Chromebooks. I've worked in a one-to-one Chromebook classroom, and they seriously have transformed the way my teaching and students' thinking has happened. The device is one of those devices, everyone talks about them, but as soon as you're using it and implement it, it transforms the startup, the quick, easy to use. Students really get a lot out of it. And so these other apps that can work alongside with Google Apps really make it amazing and transform 21st century classroom practice. So I'm just going to share the link. If you have not already signed up for tonight and you're watching it via our YouTube channel or our website, please make sure you do register and follow the link bit.ly/lowercase ttp capital CB and then lowercase apps. You can also find this on Twitter. So please make sure you have registered for tonight, because without you registering, these things cannot happen. We are delighted to have over 300 people registered, and we're looking forward to sharing some of these wonderful apps with you. So we might get our presenters to introduce themselves, tell us who they are and a little bit about the app just to introduce before we get into our normal TeachTechPlay sort of round robin of the, we normally do 4 minutes, but because it's special tonight, we thought we would extend that to 5 minutes for each presenter to share a bit about the app. So I've reminded our app developers to make sure they share a little bit now when they introduce themselves, so then they get more of their 5 minutes later on. So we might start with you, Miranda, if you want to just tell us a bit about where you're from and a little bit about Pear Deck.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks for having us. I'm Miranda Meyerson, the community manager at Pear Deck, but I was also a teacher for 12 years. So I taught middle school and high school writing and history, and our team is almost exclusively former teachers. Pear Deck is an interactive presentation builder, so it allows you to make your presentations live and interactive on a student device, and then you see all of student responses in real time, and I'll show you more about it later.
Beautiful, thank you, Miranda. We might go over to you, Stuart, and if you want to tell us a little bit about Verso app.
Hey, thanks, Eleni, and it's great to be here. My name's Stuart. I'm the product director for Verso. Verso is developed here in Melbourne, Australia, and Verso is a classroom tool that allows teachers and students to sort of collaborate and engage in new ways, and it provides, as a result, data back to teachers that helps them on their question strategies. And gives we really promote giving every student a voice, I guess. Verso is available on pretty much every device, as well as all the browsers. And because tonight's a special Chromebook edition of TeachTechPlay, I'm actually doing this whole thing on a Chromebook, which has added a new sort of degree of nervousness to me, but we'll see how we go.
Wonderful, and it's always good to try new things out. And yes, Chromebooks are definitely improving every day today, and good to see you working off a Chromebook tonight. We might throw over to Kim, who will share a bit about Edpuzzle.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us too. I'm Kim, I'm from Barcelona. I was a teacher in middle and high school for a couple of years. And I'm the founder now and CEO of Edpuzzle. Edpuzzle is a video platform that empowers teachers to make any video their lesson. And in other words, we give superpowers to teachers. So I'll be happy to explain you more about those superpowers later.
Beautiful, thank you, Kim. And we've got Lemba, if you want to tell us a little bit about Hapara.
Thanks, Eleni. Yes, my name's Linda. I'm calling from Auckland, although Harper covers the whole globe now because we do have offices in San Francisco and Redwood City as well as in Auckland, New Zealand. So I'm going to tonight tell you a little bit about the basic Harper dashboard, and I'm going to give you a preview into our brand new product, Harper Workspace. And because this is a Chromebook special, I'm going to give you a sneak preview into a yet-to-be-released brand new highlights app for Chromebooks.
Beautiful. We love seeing new updates before they've been released. So thank you for that, Lemba. I'm sure a lot of people who are tuning in will definitely switch on because I know Hapara is something that a lot of schools are using to work alongside their Google Apps for Education. Now, we do have two other presenters joining us hopefully in a little while. Just due to time zone, they will be joining us halfway through the Hangout. So you may see a couple others pop in hopefully. But we might get the show started and get everything happening. So first of all, we've got Miranda who will be starting us off and sharing everything she knows about Pear Deck. So Miranda, when you're ready, I'll start the timer.
Okay. All right. Is the timer started?
Yep, I can start it now
Okay.
for you.
Okay. Well, this is Pear Deck, and our goal is to help you engage disengaged students. Uh-oh. Oops, sorry. What happened to my pitch? Sorry, I'm not quite sure what happened to the pitch. Hold on.
That's all right.
I'm going to reopen that.
Yeah, try resharing.
Maybe if we want to move on, Eleni, to the next, and we'll come back to Pear Deck.
Yeah, no problem. Are you happy with that, Miranda?
Yeah, it's fixed, but we can do that. That's fine.
Oh, we can go if you're ready. All good.
All right. Can you see it? No, you can't see it. Sorry.
No, it's all right. This always happens.
There we go. I got that.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So we're an incredibly research-based company, and one of the things we know is that students are 1.5 times more likely to fail a lecture-based course than a course where they're actively engaged. The problem is that you as the teacher can't possibly hear all 35 students that you have at once, and that you need to make sure that you have heard, especially from the students in the back who possibly don't want to raise their hands, who don't feel like that they have a voice, but definitely have things to share in your classroom. So with Pear Deck, you can engage every single student with every question that you ask.
Miranda,
so when you pose a question...
Sorry, Miranda, sorry to interrupt. We might just go to someone else. We're just having a bit of trouble. I can see the 1.5 times more likely to fail screen, and now I can see that it's not. Yeah, it's not playing the right screen, I don't think.
Yeah, Miranda, if you can just run it without going full screen, I think it'll fix the problem.
Okay.
So yeah, just play it off your slides.
Okay, can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So essentially the idea is that every single student can put their answers into the app. You're able to push out 5 different types of interactive questions, and then you as the teacher have essentially a secret weapon. So you see, let's see if I can move. Now I can't move him forward.
You've got to love technology sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to bring your slides back on the left there.
So if you maybe
but now you can't.
View on the left, does that then change it back?
I'm not sure. Maybe we'll move on, Miranda, if you want to have a play with that. And
I'm not quite sure why it doesn't work with
That's all right.
All right.
No problem, Miranda. We'll let you have a play, and we'll move over to Stuart. So Stuart, do you want to introduce Verso app, and hopefully we can get it up and running? Gotta love screen sharing.
We'll see how we go. I mean, as I said, I'm on a Chromebook which I'm unfamiliar with, but let's have a go. If I do, can you guys see my screen? Can you see my display? Okay, cool. So I'm on a Chromebook. You can see my desktop. I'm just going to run through Verso, the experience of Verso as a student on a Chromebook. A lot of the presentations, I guess, and information about Verso are done from a teacher's perspective. So we can start the timer up, by the way, guys. So I'm just going to run through as a student. So you see I've just clicked the Verso Chromebook app down the bottom there. And that's just loaded up Verso straight away. So obviously you can get the app from the Chrome store. And the first thing you notice is it just signed me straight in. So we've got single sign-on with Google sorted so that as soon as a student signs into their Chromebook, they're immediately logged into Verso when they open it. So teachers don't have to worry about kids forgetting their passwords. So as I mentioned before, Verso is all about asking questions and about collaboration. We see here as a student, I've been brought into my dashboard, which is it's a real-time kind of feed of things I need to take notice of and actions I need to take. But for this short demo, I'll just skip past that and go to the classes section. Okay, so classes in Verso is where students come together with content from teachers, with questions from teachers. Okay, so this student here has got five classes across a range of subjects from different teachers. And I'll just jump into the science class. Is this all coming through okay, guys?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, cool. Okay, great. So I've jumped into my science class, and as I said, this is where my science teachers provided some questions for the class. Okay, we call these questions in Verso activities. And so in my science class, I've got a bunch of activities, and we'll just dive down and have a look at this particular activity on balanced and unbalanced forces. So activities in Verso, the question vehicle, they have 3 main components. So the first is a sort of some stimulus material or resource up at the top there, and then a title, and then a question, which is actually the most important bit, as you can imagine. So the resource can be any web-based resource you can imagine. It can even be something you've recorded through the Verso app as a teacher, which is the case here. So this is my science teacher who's recorded an experiment of himself. I think he's going to light this bit of newspaper, drop it in the bottle, put an egg on top. You've probably seen this before, and the egg will get sucked into the bottle in a kind of spectacular way. So essentially in Verso, as a student, I've been asked to watch this video. It equally could have been a web link or some other thing. And I've been asked to have a think about what's happening and then to articulate what I think is happening and why. So I respond to that question that the teacher's asked down here. And what you notice is I have to respond without being able to see any of my classmates' responses, which is really important. So it's important for two ways. The teacher is, in this way, the teacher's getting a response from every child in the class. So you get to see, as a teacher, what each child thinks. But as a student, sitting here, you have this moment of anxiety of thinking, what am I going to say? And what is everyone else going to say? And then on top of that, we limit the response of students, the response length for students to 500 characters. So I have to respond succinctly, and I've got this kind of this moment of tension where I'm thinking, what am I going to say, and how's that going to sit in relation to my classmates? So let's imagine that my response as to why the egg gets sucked into the bottle is that the heat shrinks the egg. Possibly not correct, but nonetheless, that's my response. Okay, so I've responded to that question from the teacher, and you can see it's sort of unlocked this classroom discussion. So now I can see what everyone else in the class thinks, and I've got visibility on where my idea sits in relation to everyone else in the class. So that sort of feedback is something that's kind of quite unique. You don't get that in other environments, certainly not in the physical class. You can maybe think about where your response sits as a student in relation to one or two other kids, but with Verso you get to see it in relation to everyone else in the class. Now the other thing you'll have noticed is that student-to-student engagement in Verso is anonymous, and that's really important. And in fact, we find when we poll students, this is the feature that they all say is the most important to them. The anonymity it sort of emboldens students. It makes them take risks with their responses, and more importantly, it allows them to engage with each other's ideas rather than with who's saying them. So now I've given feedback to the teacher in relation to where my misconceptions or understandings are in relation to this topic. I've got feedback from the whole class, and now I can give feedback in the sense that every response. So I just clicked on one of my classmates' responses. Every response from every student becomes an opportunity for anonymous collaboration, a little mini forum discussion, if you like. So we can see that there's a whole conversation that's really peer learning that's taking place under this response, and quality responses can be liked, can be peer assessed in this very sort of binary way to give further feedback. So that's kind of essentially students engaging in this question thing, which is quite a powerful kind of dynamic in a very simple kind of format. And then the last thing I'd very quickly show, because I'm probably running up close to my 5 minutes, is I've just clicked on this progress report, which is where Verso is providing me as a student with data about my collaboration skills in the sense of how I'm answering questions that my teachers are asking, how I'm responding to my peers, and what they think about my responses.
And that is exactly time. The buzzer's about to go.
Fantastic. I'm just going to find out how to stop sharing my screen.
I got a couple of questions on that one,
Sure.
Stuart.
Sure. I'll leave screen sharing up. Yep.
Just a couple of things with regards to like kids obviously going in there now. Is there any kind of functionality if they do, although it is anonymous, if they do say things that are inappropriate, or because they might feel a bit empowered to do that? What sort of mechanisms are in place to stop that?
Sure. I mean, I guess the first thing is, Verso, like it's classroom interaction. I mean, it could be running outside of class or within the class. So, as a teacher, you want to be setting the rules of engagement properly, including when to award those likes that you saw me clicking. But the other button here is this flag button. So something's inappropriate that I see as a student, I immediately click that. I'm warned that this will send an alert to the teacher. Am I sure I want to do that? I go ahead and say OK, and presumably the ground rules for using that button have been set. That's now hidden that response immediately, and the teacher's been alerted that something's been flagged, who's flagged it, and what's been flagged. And the teacher can then either unhide that or can take the appropriate action.
Okay, that's cool. And does this cost thousands of dollars, or how do we get this?
Okay, so essentially everything that I've just shown you there is available for free. This is the classroom component. Our business model is built on further reports and data analytics that schools find useful in terms of the cross-curriculum coverage and the teacher question strategies that sit behind this. Mm-hmm. So you can simply go to either app.versoapp.com or any of the mobile sort of app stores, including the Chrome store. Search for Verso app, download it, sign up, and away you go.
And Verso app is something that I use quite a bit in the classroom, and I've found that it does give those students, those ones who generally won't put their hand up in class discussions, they won't say anything. I've just found by using Verso, it gives them that voice, and I know that's one of your aims, and it's amazing what ends up being created when you've got a student who never speaks to hardly anyone in the class, ended up having a huge discussion with multiple students on a topic that is currently being discussed. It's quite amazing, that sense of having it hidden of who's saying what it actually does in the classroom. As a teacher, I find it really useful, and in the teacher mode you can actually see what everyone has.
Oh yeah, I should have mentioned that.
Yeah.
That's kind of important.
No, that's all right. As a teacher, you actually see who says what. So you can actually, so I have up on my board while it's happening, you can hide it so it shows just responses, and then you can flick it as a teacher mode and you see who has said what. So it's really good for that tuning in process, that wondering section, especially I'm really big on inquiry working at a PYP school, and it really helps with all of that thinking. So yeah, I love using it and see a real benefit in creating student voice.
Oh, that's great to hear.
Did you have any other questions, Blake?
Well, I think that's good. We might have to move on in the interest of time, I think. Yep,
no problem. Miranda, are you ready to go?
Yeah, let's try this again.
All right.
So I'm going to share my screen and
cool.
All right, we're just going to be okay with the thing on the side here.
Yeah.
Yep, that's good.
All right, so a little bit about us. We want to help you engage all of your students. So our goal is to make sure that every student has a voice in your classroom every single day, and that you have the ability to actually hear all 35 voices. So when you pose a question in class, essentially the question shows up on the student device, and every student has the opportunity to grapple with the information for themselves. So you know that every single student is engaged in what you need them to be engaged in. So we can't see the dashboard. Okay, that's fine. So you have every student engaged in the activity, and we set it up so that you could do inquiry-based activities if you choose to. So somewhere in the world, there's a teacher saying, today class, we're going to talk about focal point. And most likely, half of your students are already asleep. However, with Pear Deck, the student comes into the classroom and there's already a way for them to engage in the lesson in a low-stakes way. So, for example, this teacher put up a drag and drop question in the beginning and asked the students to just put the dot wherever it is that draws their eye in the painting. So the student can put their dot anywhere in the painting. As the teacher can then see every single student response individually and then post them up on the board individually or together. So as a class, the students have identified the parts of the painting that they think draw their eye. They can have a full discussion, and then then the teacher only introduces the vocabulary word when it is that the students need this vocabulary word. So you've essentially flipped the way that you do a lesson by allowing students to engage in a low-stakes manner. As the teacher, you get a secret weapon. So you see every single student signed in, and you see their responses. and you have complete control over which responses you put up on the board and you choose to not put up on the board. So with these responses, you essentially know who's getting the material, who's not, what the most common misconception is, and you can make data-driven classroom decisions on the spot. And because we're integrated with Google, you can then export all student responses into Google Sheets. You can grade them using Flubaroo, and you can share responses with parents because everything's connected through Classroom and Drive. But of course, what do the kids think, since they're the ones who are really you need to win over with this app? So 90% of students who do not like to participate in class like using Pear Deck. And then we get love notes from teachers every day. This is just an example. Literally just finished my most challenging class with a spontaneous round of applause. Thank you, Pear Deck, for helping me engage my students. So we get notes like this every day from teachers who are able to engage students in a way and hear students in a way that they were never able to do so before. And that's it. Thank you.
Oh,
Awesome.
Wonderful. Yeah, Pear Deck is quite amazing. I've had a little play with it, and Blake has always shown me the cool things that you can do with it. Blake, do you want to ask any other questions to Miranda?
Yeah, well, maybe just wrapping that up a little bit. Like I think I demoed Pear Deck when I was last on this show, and
Yes.
one of the problems with it was quite a large thing to kind of demo in one session, and I think there's a lot to it, and I think the thing for us, like we've actually purchased it at McKinnon, is that it's really changed the way we sort of look at, like, I guess, interacting in the classroom. Like, it's really easy to kind of put a question up there and get some results from your kids, and then you can like save that session and look at it again. And I think it's just really well put together, but it does take a little bit of time to kind of get your head around all the different facets of it and all the different question types and stuff. And even one of our classes, they post up recordings of their Pear Deck sessions and put it onto their Google Plus site. And kids have actually come on there and said, I love using Pear Deck. Like, I've seen these comments in the Google Plus sites about how engaged they are with Pear Deck. So that's a real testament to that. Kids really do love it, especially the disengaged kids. So I think that's been really good. But one thing that I think most people want to know is it free? Do we have to pay for it? How does that work? What's the model?
So it's a freemium model. There's 3 types of questions that are available for free all the time. That would be free response and numeric response and multiple choice. And teachers can use those features for free forever, in addition to the ability to embed a third-party website into your presentation. The paid features are the sort of next generation questions. So the draggable questions, the drawing questions, and then the teacher dashboard. We try to make it affordable for teachers, so if you write in and the school's not going to purchase it for you, we try to figure out a way to make sure that everybody who wants Pear Deck for their classroom can have it regardless of means. Yeah,
awesome. No, that's really good. I like that model. It's really good. So thank you, Miranda. I think that was all from me. Anything from you, Eleni?
I was just going to say I do also like been having a play with it this week, and those extra little features that are available, even just testing it, you've got the option to do the simple version, and I like then how you explained the paid version and the different levels there, because that was something that I had a question about, because I know schools, it's always a thing, when you start having to pay for things, not always can you get them approved. So is there a way, and is it affordable to one-on-one, like one teacher being able to afford it, which I know it is. So we might keep moving on. And next we have Kim from Edpuzzle, which I'm really excited to learn more about. So let me know when you're ready and I will start the timer.
I'm ready. I think I will pass on the presentation on the PowerPoint due to the problems that Miranda had.
No problem.
So I'm going to try to do it live. So, hi everyone. I'm happy to be here. I'm from Barcelona. That is where I got the accent. I was a math teacher, as I said before. I was flipping my class. I was using videos. I was spending my weekends creating video content for my students. Terrible videos. I mean, you can hear my dog barking at the end of some of my videos. So, but that's what happens to most of the teachers that are trying to flip their class. It's just going to YouTube, trying to find the almost perfect video. You go through hundreds of videos. You see that they are almost perfect, but they're not the perfect lesson. And then you spend your weekends to reinvent the wheel, create your own videos from scratch. It's really time consuming. You have to learn how to use different tools, softwares in order to create your videos. And then what happened to me at least is that when you share your video with your students, you expect them to watch the video and then use the time in the classroom in a more meaningful way. But what really happens is that some of the students watch the video and some of them, they just go to Facebook or Twitter and they never watch the lesson. So you lose accountability of your students. And when I was in the classroom, that was really painful. And that's, I just started Edpuzzle with 3 of my best friends. And we went to San Francisco to start a company. And now I'm going to show you how we really give superpowers, video superpowers to teachers. I'm going to try to share the website so that you can see how it actually looks like. Okay, so that's Edpuzzle. I don't know if you can see it. I hope you can see it. But
we can see it perfectly.
As we always say, Edpuzzle is the easiest way to engage your students with videos. And I'm going to try to start as a teacher now. I'm going to start a tour. So let's say I go to YouTube and I found an amazing video, but the problem with this video is way too long for my students. And I just want to use a part of this video. So with Edpuzzle, you have these editing tools, really easy to use, where you can, for example, drag and drop these tribes and trim the video and take only a piece of it. So now you have a shorter video and you are sure that your students can pay attention for at least 4.5 minutes. So let's move to the next feature that we offer to teachers. You can embed questions. You can also embed audio notes. So you can make this video a more interactive experience. So it's no longer a passive experience for the students. They're not just sitting there watching a video. They have to pay attention, answer questions. So what do you think is going to happen? Questions like this, you can embed images, you can embed links to other websites, to other videos. I mean, you're literally making this experience more engaging. And once you share this video with your students, as I said before, you track all the students' activity. You know exactly who's watching the video and who's not. And if you click on a specific student, you can see here on the right even how many times they watch specific parts of the video. And that's super powerful for teachers, because when you assign a video to watch at home, before you get to class, you know exactly where or what do you have to explain the next day in the classroom. And if you want to work on a specific student, you have to explain a specific segment of that video. So it's really easy to use information. As we say, it's not data, we offer insights to the teacher. So let me log in as in my account. I'm going to show you the last piece of Edpuzzle. So Edpuzzle, as you can see, it's like a YouTube for teachers, and you can find here different channels in Edpuzzle. One of them, you can find all the lessons created by other teachers in Edpuzzle. So it's also a community. It's not about starting the video from scratch now. You can now search for fractions. That's what you want to explain the next day in class. And you have different lessons created by other teachers and even with questions. So you can just watch this video. If you really like the question this teacher embedded, just use the video and use the editing tools that I showed you before. Once you're done, you can assign it to your class. And another superpower that we give is the prevent skipping, which basically prevents the students from skipping. Even if they go to Facebook or Twitter, they will have to watch. The video will stop and then when they go back, the video will continue playing. So these are a sum up on how to use Edpuzzle. I'll be happy to answer any question if you have some.
I have more questions about how the three of you and your friends started a new startup in San Francisco. That's that's a really exciting story. It's almost like a love story, a romance story. But I am interested in a couple of things. Just I notice you've got students in there, so you can see like which kid's done what. Where are you getting those kids' names from? Is that something that happens when you sign in with your Google account, or is that something you have to set up on the back end? Like, is there a lot of like manual handling the teacher has to do?
No. So basically, the teacher has to give class code to the students, and then the students can create an account using their Google accounts or their Edmodo accounts, or even create an Edpuzzle account. The email is always optional because we have seen many teachers or many students don't have emails yet, so they just need a username and a password. Then they introduce the class code and they're forever connected to your class. So every time you assign a video to that class, they automatically receive it, and when they watch the video, you receive the information.
I've also got a question. Can students create their own videos and pose questions to the class throughout? So do it in the reverse order?
Yes, of course. I mean, we call it the flipping the flipped classroom.
Yeah.
Basically, what we offer to teachers is another feature that we call the project-based learning feature. Basically, they assign a project to the students. The students receive all the tools that we offer to teachers to edit videos. Each student creates their own video lesson, embedding questions, adding their voice, trimming the videos, and the teacher privately receives for each student the lesson, and they can give feedback on how they did the assignment. I think it's an amazing experience for the students because they learn how to use YouTube. And they learn is not just to watch Justin Bieber video clips. It's also about learning, about looking for math videos, science videos, anything that you want to learn. It's actually on YouTube. So it's a different experience for the students too.
Yeah. And is there a cost involved in using Edpuzzle?
Usually that's the first question that teachers ask me. I was a teacher, and for me, and for all the company, it doesn't make sense that teachers have to pay for Edpuzzle or for any tech tool. It's because in our eyes, it's like the teacher paying for the books for their class. So we're committed to keep Edpuzzle 100% free for teachers and students, and we're building a school and department edition for the school to pay for better collaboration tools, better information, better content for their teachers, but it's always the school and the organizations that are going to pay for extra features, not the teachers.
And are they ready now, Kim, or is that something coming later in the year, or do you have any info on that?
Well, it's kind of secret, but anyway, it doesn't matter. We're collaborating with a few schools, piloting these new features, and we expect to have them available by the end of this year. And I'm very excited to show them around when the time comes.
Awesome.
It's always good to get insider gossip of what's coming out and what's coming, I know. And in saying that, we should keep heading over because I know Lemva's got something exciting with Hapara to share next with us about a new secret top edition. I don't know what you want to call it, Lemva, but I'm sure whatever you're going to show us is going to continue to wow us. I know I've already been wowed by 3 presenters and we've got 2 to go, and I'm sure it will continue to wow every time someone presents. And just make sure we are tweeting out the links, so if you wanted to have a look at any of the links to any of these wonderful apps, you can find it at TeachTechPlay. All right, Lemva, let me know when you're ready and I'll start the timer. You're just muted at the moment, Lenva.
Now?
Yep, all good.
Excellent. Okay, so I'm just going to spend 15 seconds just going through what Hapara is. And Hapara is a way that you can manage your whole Google Apps environment for your class or your school. It's works by some folders are created inside your students' drive and your students' file who work in folders. You can then see that work and access that work off the dashboard. So it just looks like this, and then of course you can go in and check their work. You can see when it was last updated, who did it, who it's been shared with. A single click to take you into any student work whatsoever. So what that actually means for you and your students is that your students never need to share work with you again in their Google Apps, and you don't ever need to go to that shared with me area and try and find student work. You can find it all on your dashboard. So that's really all I'm going to say about the Hapara dashboard, because I've got some more exciting things to talk about tonight. So I want to first of all start by showing you Workspace. Now Workspace is out in open beta at the moment, and Workspace is a way of you being able to put out whole units of work in context. So we've always had the Smart Share feature where you could send single files out to your students, but what Workspace allows you to do is to take a contextual unit of work and send it to your students. Here is an example of a workspace. So this is a workspace about Romeo and Juliet and how will it end. So this is one a teacher's made. I haven't got time to sort of assemble one for you, so I'm just going to show you one it is made. The workspace is basically 4 columns where you would have goals or learning intentions or whatever you want to call it. All these column headers are configurable. You can add in resources. You can add in evidence or learning activities or whatever it is the student's actually going to do, and you can add your assessment criteria. They're added onto cards, and each one of these cards is separate. Each card you can I'm just going to edit one so you can see each card you can assign to groups. You can take things from your drive, or you can take links and add them onto cards. So you can bring in YouTubes, you can bring in any app, you can bring in links from the internet, anything from your drive, images, etc., and put them onto cards. And then you can also set the work that you want your students to do and put that on a card so they sit here under this evidence column ready for your students to start work. You can make groups within it, so you would assign, create your groups and assign your students to groups. They are also collaborative, so if you were doing a unit of inquiry with another teacher, you can then have a group of teachers who collaborate on a workspace and make this, a collaborative experience. So when you're ready for your students to see this this whole unit of work they're going to send out, your students, you would publish it and it becomes visible to your students. Now I'm just going to show you what a student would see. So so this is a student's version. It looks pretty much the same as the teacher's version, except I'm only going to be able to see one group because I'm a student now, just in one group, whereas the teacher could see all the groups that they'd made them for. And so the students can see the goals, learning intentions, the resources, etc. Students can add their own resources to their workspaces, and they can also add their own evidence. But in the evidence column, I'm just going to show you that the student sees the task that's been set by the teacher here. When the student clicks on that task, it downloads, it does that smart copy thing, it downloads to their drive, and then they get ready to submit. They could then be able to submit this back to a teacher. It becomes embargoed, so then the student loses editing rights and the teacher is the only one, and then it can be returned to the students. These you can set start dates and due dates. Start dates is when the students see it, due dates of course is when the work is in. So once that all happens, let me now just flip back to the teacher. The teacher then gets an overall activity view of what's been going on. So a teacher can just see on this dashboard who's got work overdue, who has submitted work. So this is the ones the teacher needs to mark. So submitted work that hasn't been marked and returned yet. The teacher can see all of the activity on any piece of evidence during this workspace. These are all resortable columns, and then we can also see any learner activity at all in this workspace. I can see who started it, how long ago they worked on something, who hasn't actually made a start yet. So you get that whole dashboard view of exactly what your students are doing. So that's Workspace. And then just for a few seconds to finish off, I'm just going to give you this a preview into the new update that's coming out. You'd know Interact when you're working on Chromebooks or Chrome browsers, and Interact would show you the what your students, what tabs they had open, and what screens the students were looking at, etc. Well, the new update to Interact comes out soon, whereby your students will still be able to do all of those things plus more. So I'm just going to quickly load up this group of students, and they're all working on Chromebooks now, so in a minute you'll see their tabs all opening, so you can see the tabs they've got open. You can see the screens that they're looking at as you could before using Interact, but this is the new one. It's going to be called Highlights. This one now gives you an activity viewer where you can see some sort of history of their browsing activity on their Chrome device. So you can see exactly where they've been. So I can see that in my class during my session 4 students have been on YouTube, and if I hover over the green bar I'll see who they are, and then I can see in the grey bar students who were on that page and have now moved to somewhere else. I can take a record of this and I can view that as an activity stream as well, so I can get all of that and what's been going on in my class. And I know my bell's gone, but I'm just going to say one more sentence. Also, what is awesome in this is that you can send out focused browsing. So when I want to send out a link and open it for my students, I can focus my students in on a link, which means I can limit them to that particular link that I'm sending out to them for a certain amount of time. Okay, and now there's a lot more as well, but that's just a little taster.
Lemba, that looks very exciting. I must say, Hapara seriously transforms a teacher's use of a Chromebook, especially that interact mode. Now, I just wanted to ask, I know that there is a cost with Hapara, but whereabouts does the Workspace and that new Highlights come under the new pricing? Okay.
Great, good question. So Workspace is available free of charge with your dashboard. So there is a charge for your teacher dashboard, of course, and Workspace is just been added into it, so that will just be appearing. In fact, it is there already, appears on your screen. Highlights will replace Interact, so if you're subscribed to Interact, Highlights will replace it. And because we've got these new products out, we've got some huge specials at the moment, so if you were considering buying Havra, there are some really, really great prices at the moment.
Wonderful.
That's amazing. With that activity viewer in the highlight stuff, that's stuff I'm really interested in, given we're going to have 2,000 Chromebooks next year. The highlight stuff's interesting to me because does that somehow detect when your class starts and ends, or does that just look at the history of the whole day?
No, this is a session, so this would be a class when you open it up and you've loaded up a group of students. So you're looking at a cohort's browsing activity, yeah.
Cool. So that's awesome. So it'll actually detect that you're in a class, and when they close their lids and go to the next one, it's a whole new session for that class.
Yeah.
That is
amazing.
Yeah.
I even like the way you can focus in, sorry Blake, and just limit the time. So you could say you've got 5 minutes to read this, and then we're going to have a quick discussion and see what they even gather after just 5 minutes, and you don't have to worry about those kids still looking and going, hang on, where is it? That's really cool.
That's right.
Yeah, and the focus session stuff's really cool as well. Does that sort of block them from even like moving to another window or logging out of the Chromebook and stuff like that?
Yes, it does. So it completely shuts down everything they had open. They get a warning, so it's not going to slam dunk them, and then they're limited to that time. You can release them early if you want to, so they're not totally locked in. The teacher has control over what happens.
Oh, okay, cool. And so that's obviously set up for testing or doing some kind of...
or just saying, as Eleni said, I want you to read these 3 paragraphs. You've got 5 minutes to do it in.
No more Twitter and Facebook, Kim?
Yeah, and even I know today my students were doing a pre-test, and I always get worried whether they're flicking between browsers and checking other things, and that way I can just lock them down. I can still have that interact mode up, but it just still locks it down and gives you that power, not really power, but that sense of real evidence and real data rather than knowing what
Exactly.
they're doing.
Exactly right. Yes, that's
No,
right.
I think it is power though. I think it is power in a classroom.
Well, but it's more about informing your teaching. So you want to get accurate data where your students are up to, you know, so yeah, so you can be informed for their lessons.
Yes, and you, as a teacher as well, especially a lot of teachers who are a bit hesitant about these new technologies, it does give them that sense of still having that control with the Chromebook, knowing that they can still see and give direction into what they want their students learning and doing.
Yeah.
Alrighty, we might keep moving on to our final presenter tonight. We haven't actually introduced you yet. Max, thanks for joining us. If you want to tell us a little bit about yourself to begin with, and then once you're ready, let me know and I will start the timer.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks so much, Blake and Elena, for inviting me on this evening's show. I'm actually from Waterloo, Canada, which is near Toronto, along with the rest of our team here. So it's very early in the morning here, which is something I find really cool, that we get to collaborate and have this session across the entire globe. One of my friends and I started Kaizena about 2 years ago, evenings, weekends, and also went to Silicon Valley for a few months in the same program that Kim went through, Imagine K-12, which is an education technology incubator. And then, of course, came back to Canada after that. You know, Edward, my friend, and I started Kaizena because we believe that feedback is everyone's fundamental learning process, and the goal with Kaizena is to enable teachers to provide fast, high-quality feedback on student work. It's a problem that takes teachers 10, 15 hours a week, and it's something that, unfortunately, all too many students just toss into the recycling bin or into the trash. So that was the paper era. Now we're in the digital era, and we can make it a lot more efficient for teachers and a lot more fun and enjoyable and effective for students. So that's a little bit about me and what Kaizena is. I guess I should mention that Kaizena is derived from the Japanese root word for kaizen, which means continuous improvement. Yeah, that's a little bit about me and Kaizena.
Wonderful. Did you want to share your screen, or were you just going to show us?
Sure. Absolutely.
So let me know when you're ready, and I'll start the 5-minute timer.
Just let me know when you can see my screen.
Yep.
Okay. So go ahead and start the timer.
Beautiful.
So I'm going to demonstrate Kaizena using 2 accounts. I've got our George Feeney teacher account up here in the top right corner, and I'm also going to switch over to Corey Matthews, who is our student account. I'll start in George Feeney's account, our teacher, and you'll note that I already have a document in here. I'm more than happy to share how you'd get documents into Kaizena afterwards, or if we have time at the end, but I really wanted to focus on our 3 main feedback features that allow you to provide more feedback, more effective feedback in less time. Okay, so as the teacher, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start by making a highlight here. And then I'm going to choose our first feedback feature, which is voice comments. So I click the voice comment button, and now I'm recording. So I can say, Corey, this is an excellent hook. It's short, catchy, to the point, and really draws my attention. I'm looking forward to reading the rest of your essay. Great job. And so that's voice comments. Now, voice comments are important because as a teacher, we all speak up to 75% faster than we can type. And so it takes our teachers, most of our teachers, much less time to record a voice comment than it does to type or especially write your feedback. And for students, there's actually over 30 years of research that shows that voice comments, or the students have an overwhelming preference for voice comments compared to text comments or to other forms of feedback. And we've collected some of that research on our feedback page. And so voice comments really epitomizes this idea that we can use technology to make providing feedback more efficient for teachers as well as more effective for students. And so again, you just highlight, click record, you're starting to record, and then
I think
click
the
stop.
screen's frozen. Sorry, Max.
Oh no. Okay.
Do you want to maybe?
Where did you get to?
Do you want to just stop the screen share and then reshare the screen share again? Sometimes it just freezes.
I think it happens when you take over
Sure.
the microphone for your. I did this once demoing Kaizena because you need the microphone for that and for this. It sometimes doesn't work, so you might maybe just want to show us what you've done there.
Let me just stop the screen share, and then I will start the screen share again. Are we caught up?
Don't think so. Gotta love technology.
Well, I'm happy to continue just talking.
Oh, there we go. It's caught up now.
Okay. So maybe what I'll try to do is I'll try to minimize moving the screen around so that you can at least have something to look at while I'm talking, and I'll try focusing on explaining. So
beautiful.
That first type of feedback is voice comments. And I mentioned that voice comments is really powerful because it's more efficient for you as a teacher, as well as more effective for students. There's a huge body of research on the efficacy of providing verbal feedback on student work, and that's really because for students, especially students who are perhaps behind grade level or struggling, when they see your comments written on their work, very often it's very difficult to separate themselves from their work. So when they see those comments, they feel like you're criticizing them as a person, as opposed to providing feedback on their work. As one of our teachers puts it, voice comments really lets them tell their students in so many words, your essay sucked, but I still love you, right? It allows you to wrap your necessarily critical feedback in a tone of caring and love. You can communicate the intention of your feedback. So that's what many teachers find really powerful about voice comments. Okay, the next feedback feature is something we call lessons, and this is useful when you find yourself saying the same thing over and over and over again, like perhaps comma splicing. So here I've already loaded a comma splice lesson into Kaizena, and a lesson is very simple. It's just a pre-recorded voice comment, or it's a pre-written text comment, or in this case, it's a link to YouTube video. So if you click Watch Video, you can actually see this video on comma splicing directly inside of your feedback. And this is really important because, as a general rule, the shorter the distance between why I have to learn something and what I have to learn, the more motivated I am as a student to learn it. And so lessons is just a quick way to either save your voice comments for reuse, save a text comment for reuse, or link to any other website or video on the internet. And your lessons library is just up here in the top left-hand corner under the menu. If we have time at the end, I can show you how to add a new one. Okay, the third and final feedback feature that we have is skill tracking, and it works just like the other ones. I'm going to make a highlight, and then I'm going to click on the rocket ship icon and start typing a skill. So this is a transition, and I'm going to give this a 3 out of 4 on our transition rubric scale. And then perhaps I could even add a voice comment or a text comment to explain why the student got a 3 out of 4 instead of, say, a 4 out of 4 on transition. Now, as I continue to do this, let's say this is a conclusion. This is an excellent conclusion, so I'm going to give it a 4 out of 4. And maybe up here, this is the thesis as well. So I will just type thesis. And I'd say it's a 3 out of 4 on the thesis. So after we start to do this, we can actually go up here to the top and to the summary and see a skills summary where you can actually break down and see the scores that you got on each individual rubric criteria that your teacher is assessing. And so within these are averages. So if you had multiple highlights that contributed to it, you could actually see the individual pieces of evidence that contributed to that average. And when you do that, it jumps to the correct highlight and circles it. Okay, so those are the 3 feedback features. I should mention the reason we call it skills is because it's what makes sense to students. Generally, each different country and state and province has a different word for it. Learning outcomes, prescribed learning outcomes, criteria, standards. At the end of the day, skills is what made sense to students, so that's what we went with. And I note that I am just out of time, but as the last thing I'm going to mention, if I flip over to the student side, you'll notice that all of this is already there. You didn't have to hit send. You didn't have to click done or save anything as you went. Everything is real-time with your students, and this is because fast speed is another property of high-quality feedback. And students can certainly respond with their own voice comments, with their own text comments, even with their own videos. We don't actually make any difference in the product between teachers and students. Everyone gets the same kaizena. And so, there's lots of opportunity for peer feedback and such as well, but I will save that for another conversation. Thanks for putting up with the technical issues here we had with screen sharing. I guess when we're across the entire globe, some things like this happen, but that's the demo. And as I mentioned, I'm happy to go into more detail with anyone who's interested. We hold weekly workshops every Thursday night.
Beautiful, Maxwell. It's really cool, because I know something that I constantly have to remind my students is capital letters for proper nouns. I think I probably repeat this multiple times throughout the day, and I love it how you can just sort of select it and put a video link, so I could almost film myself doing a silly dance, and then hopefully maybe then it might stick in and just make them remember those silly rules that we keep trying to remind them throughout their essay. So I really do like that. I always joke with them that I'll record myself doing something silly, and I now can do that.
Another thing there, if I can just sort of talk to the experience at McKinnon, some of our staff, I think, have actually worked directly with the Kaizena team on some feedback stuff. But another thing with the product is it's important to note that those documents that are being highlighted are Google documents, and it fits in with your standard kind of, you can use it with Hapara and alongside all those kind of tools. So just to be aware that that's kind of where it's driven from. And I think the importance of it is around that like thinking skill where students would just like copy and paste out of text comments a lot. They just go, oh, you should phrase it like this, so then they just copy that and paste it in without even thinking. So I think that sort of skill of being able to say, okay, I've got to listen to it, I've got to make a decision, and then I have to act on that decision. I think that's really, really powerful in the classroom. So thank you so much for sharing that and for all the good work that you're doing as well. And of course, we haven't topped off on price either. So how does it work in terms of pricing for schools?
Kaizena, we're a free product. And like many others have mentioned here tonight, we intend to remain free for teachers. However, if we ever do charge, we intend to primarily work with schools or with districts or within a range that teachers would be able to upgrade to, instead of we're never going to charge for what we have right now. The things that we charge for are going to be expansions on what we have right now.
Yeah, and that's always good to know as teachers. We do like to know that and manage what we are using, and together with the use of the Chromebooks, I think it has really opened up through Google Apps and Chromebooks. The options out there now in 21st century classrooms is just expanding and continue to expand. We've had just showcased a few fantastic apps tonight, and seen just a little snapshot of what they can do within your own classroom. And I think that's very useful for a lot of teachers who are weary and it's not hard to do it. The thing with every single one tonight, you can see that there's just a few clicks. It doesn't take foreign sites or foreign things. Wherever you need to go, you can see it quite easily. Was there anything else, Blake, that you wanted to mention?
I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for coming on and sharing their apps with us. It's always great to hear directly from the horse's mouth what's going on with your apps. And I think I'd just like to point out as well that I've used all of these apps over the course of the years that they've been available, and every single one of them has gotten better. So it's not like it stands still and what we have today is what it's going to be in the future. I think the great thing about all these apps on Chromebooks, they're all cloud-based, they're all really websites, web-driven, and that allows them to be quickly iterated to, feedback. We've often had feedback, especially in the case of Kaizena, where it's been emailed through and things have actually happened, changes have been made on the spot, in response to a teacher's issues. So things like that, they've all gotten quicker, they've all gotten more reliable, they've all gotten more features. So it's just great to see this continual evolution of all these products. And, I think it just validates, I guess, our decision making at the school with the Chromebooks. We're just seeing that a lot of the things we couldn't do 2 years ago and that were a big proponent against Chromebooks have now become, easy to do and just clicks away. So yeah, it's been a great journey, and I'd just like to thank everyone again for coming on, and I hope that everyone out there who's watching has enjoyed it. And of course, don't forget to vote. You have to vote on your play king or queen, isn't it, Eleni?
Yeah, we were going to do a voting for your app king or queen. I wasn't sure if you wanted to do it or not, but yeah, we can still vote till Friday and people choose their favourite. But I found it really difficult because I know I've liked all of our apps tonight, and that's what I was about to say, is it's really difficult to choose one out of all of them. I think every single app that we have shared tonight has got its own individuality that can be used within any classroom today that is using Google Apps and Chromebooks. It's, they all sort of work together. They can work side by side. They can work standalone. So it was just great to share. I will set up the link to share and, not to share, to vote. But again, if you did want any links from tonight, we have tweeted out a lot of our presenters. You can get in contact with our presenters. Their details are up on our website as well. So please make sure if you do have any questions that you do ask these guys. They are the people who have created it. They're the ones who are going to listen and make any changes that, if something does come up, I'm sure they would all love to hear what you do have to suggest as well. As Blake said, when things do come about, getting in contact with them is the main thing. Before we do end, I just want to remind you, keep an eye out on our Twitter and Google Plus page. I'll send out the link and voting in the next probably 10-15 minutes as soon as we end. But also keep in mind that TeachTechPlay happens every month. It happens on the first Monday of every month, where we actually invite teachers. This was just a special edition where we got the app developers in, but mainly we invite educators who are using different tools in the classroom to share the ways they're using them. And yeah, if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you won't miss out. We're up to episode 14 that airs in 2 weeks on Monday the 7th of September, and I know because we are in Melbourne, obviously over in Canada it's bright and early in the morning, but you can watch our show in your own time, so it's not one of those things that you have to tune in live to watch. You do have until Friday, and voting will close on Friday at 8 p.m. for this wonderful show. So a huge thank you again to all the app developers, especially those who had to wake up early on the other side of the world. But it shows you that technology does connect us today and does provide us with a lot of opportunities. So once again, thank you to everyone, and I hope you can all join us for our next episode of Teach Tech Play that airs in a couple of weeks, episode 14. Thank you.